do want to just segue into the issues with the Sewerage and Water Board relative to turbine catastrophe, as well as a drainage pipe, a burst that our director, Ghassan Corbin, is present with us, along with my president pro tem, Dr. Tamika Duplessis, who is with us. But I'll call on our ED, Ghassan Corbin, at this time to give us an update on Sewerage and Water Board, East Bank and West Bank.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I am here to brief you on two separate situations. They may be related, and that's under investigation. And I'll explain why that connection may exist. First off, I'd like to talk to you about the situation that occurred earlier this afternoon at the Curtin Water Plant. It was a routine day. We were operating under dry weather condition. Turbine 4 was running, and we exhibited a situation with a compressor that really functioned as regulating some monitoring and tracking situations within turbine 4, and within that turbine 4 there's safeguards that are designed to alert that turbine that there's something is wrong, and indeed that's what happened, and turbine 4 tripped offline as designed. As part of a normal standard operating procedure, we went to turbine 5 as the backup, and we turned that on, and in the process of doing so, an explosion took place and occurred. We had about 12 employees in the immediate area within the proximity of the turbine. We're blessed to report that we had 3 reported injuries, and actually, again, thankful that they were all very minor injuries. 2 were transported to a hospital, 1 declined. And then obviously we're monitoring those 2 employees and their conditions, and we obviously pray that they recover very, very quickly. And again, initial reports that the conditions were not serious at all. In order to maintain operations, we went into a different phase or different approach, and then we tapped into T-Energy, and we're using our frequency changer to compensate for the loss of power from the T4 and the T5. So currently we have everything operational and standard operation under dry weather conditions. Because of the enormity of the situation, we have our two major turbines that are down, amounting to about 40 megawatts. We are declared state of emergency in order to expedite the investigation and the actual repairs of both turbines. We believe that turbine 4 has minimal, if any, damage, and we hope to bring that online as soon as possible. T5 remains to be seen, but we believe that the damage is serious and will take a while before we bring that online. Moving on to the other situation, which happened in the West Bank. Earlier this morning we had a water main break, and it appeared to be major. We experienced a major loss of pressure. Typically we have an actual tank that helps us buy time in response to that loss of pressure. That tank was emptied, and then we experienced loss of pressure below 20 psi, pound per square inch, which is the threshold dictating us declaring a precautionary board water advisory. The main has been fixed, the pressure has been stable, but then nonetheless we have to go through the process of testing water before we basically remove the board water advisory, and obviously you have to stay tuned with that. That takes 24 hours. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah. So turbines 4 and 5 are off now, but 1, 3, and 6 are still good at this point?
Yes. Yes. So we have T3, turbine 3, contemplated to be utilized. Turbine 1 is on. Again, just in case, but as of today, we're using frequency changers, and we're using Entergy's power.
Yeah, I guess the next question would be, especially with 4 and 5, those seem to always be the problem turbines. We've been reporting on them since back 2017 now. problems still existing with them? Because again, you said it seems like they were closely related in how they both found malfunction.
Well, the actual, well, they're both very old, and I say that where we are in a stable situation, we are not to become complacent because they are very old, and situations like today could happen, and unfortunately I was right, they do happen, have happened. The two incidents, the only reason T5 had an incident is because we relied on it, because T4 was down. They're not connected otherwise, okay? And obviously we're going to go into a very forensic investigation and find out exactly the root cause. We're going to rely on the actual contractors and vendors, people who've been involved with T4 and T5, who are very intimately involved with those to help us find the root cause of that.
And you kind of touched on that second with the turbine. Any idea what happened? I mean, not making light of it, but it's not supposed to blow up.
It's not supposed to blow up, and obviously I cannot explain what happened. I mean, it would be so premature. None of my staff even is speculating or even trying to guess. Again, we're going to be very thoughtful, very systematic, and we don't want to be hasty, driving at conclusions. That's why we're bringing experts from outside to help us find the root cause.
But it also speaks to what we have been saying as it relates to redundancy and power and the need to get off, right, and lean more to the partnership with Entergy, which we were able to lean on this afternoon. But we do anticipate, and Colin, I mean, you're the weatherman for me as well, but we do anticipate some level of rain coming soon, not today, but with that in mind, we really have to move swiftly as it relates to power and creating that redundancy.
And we should have enough power to manage an event on Monday, but I have to caution everybody with really no redundancy in the system.
That's
We lost 40 megawatts with 4 and 5.
So there's some concern, though, it sounds like.
It's always
There's
concern
always
when
a
you don't
concern,
have the full
obviously.
capacity.
Yep, a resilient
Yeah.
system has redundancy built into it, and as of today, we lost that resiliency.
Jennifer Crockett, WBSU.
Can you explain the landscape out there? Because we were all out there, and you see the big, at the back of the plant, you see the big white building, and then you see that stack. And it looks like the bottom of the stack was tilted to the side and a chunk of it blown out. But what are those things technically called, and where exactly was the explosion and turbine number 5?
I can tell you exactly what you were looking at. I don't know if the actual, what you're referring to as leaning tower or I don't know if that's a cause or caused by the actual,
The one
I'm
that
not
you
denying
first
that.
saw with the caution, if I can show you.
I honestly cannot address any of those questions at this point because I do not know the answers to those accurately.
One second, Katie.
But-
You have 1 second. Do you have a follow-up?
I sure do. A lot of the people that we talked to out there, they said they were knocked off of their feet by the force of this blast.
Absolutely, yes.
Windows were shattered.
Yes.
What's Sewage and Water Board going to do to restore the surety of their homes and their windows? And also, can you speak to the force of the explosion?
Well, it was a significant explosion, obviously caused serious damage. It was well contained, so the explosion itself happened within the chamber of the actual turbine. There was a lot of impact beyond the actual plant that went into the neighborhoods. Actually, it was heard from miles and miles away. So we're not downplaying the actual explosion, and we know that we've already receiving complaints or claims from the immediate neighborhood in terms of broken windows and what have you, and we will address those the best we can. Obviously, my priority now is to get one of those turbines back online so we have some redundancy so we can face events in more comfortable fashion. But we're not going to diminish any of the complaints that come on our way. We're going to investigate them and we're going to address them, and we plan to make people whole.
Katie Rexall, the advocate.
That was just, I'm actually sort of following up on Jen's question. The turbine is sideways or vertical? I mean, because there's a thing that looks like it came from an erector set that has like different stories that go into the sky. It's like a metal
I can show you
thing.
the picture.
And that's what I'm trying to understand how to describe that. That's not really the turbine, right?
We're not going back and forth with no pictures right now.
Okay, well, just to be
We
clear
will
about
be-
what we were talking about.
No, we understand, but that's from your perspective, and what I would love to have happen is for leadership to have the necessary time to thoroughly understand as this investigation moves forward, and we'll come back to you with answers to those specific questions, but it's at a time when we really are grounded in the facts, I would say.
And I will bring my general superintendent now. Obviously, he's busy addressing the situation, so he can be by my side and he can be more articulate in terms of the landscape and exactly what components.
Describe it accurately.
Absolutely, we're happy to describe it, as we've been very transparent with everything that we've been facing. So we will come to you with more information when we're comfortable being accurate with the information.
Katie, were you done?
Yeah, I was just trying to understand if I should say that the turbine had black smoke coming out of it, or how to describe it even, I don't know.
Typically, what you see coming out of those stacks is steam. Sometimes you see some discoloration. It's still steam. I cannot tell you for sure if the explosion impacted that and affected the color, what you saw and when you saw it. It could be related, but I can't really attest to it today. And if it is, I will share that with you.
Okay, Jen and I were both talking to people along the street who saw black smoke come into the sky from that erector set thing. So that's what I was trying to understand, if I should call it a turbine.
Right.
I thought maybe there was some easy word to describe it. But
What I can tell you, there was an explosion. There was some smoldering fire contained within turbine 5. Obviously, smoldering fire creates some smoke that may have found its way through the stack, and it was more visible. Again, these things and sequence of events will be studied and will be shared with you.
And we do generate power through steam, and that's what we want to get off of in the future.
But that's what you typically see coming out of the stacks.
Catherine McGlone, Fox.
Sorry, before you do that, Rich can follow up with you guys on the specific terminology of some of those structures, just so we're clear on that.
okay, yeah, that's what
We can have a site plan and draw what is what for you to help you tell the story, of course.
All right, last question.
Yeah, I'm trying to get an idea of, when you say 40 megawatts, it seems like a lot, but for the average citizen, how might you describe that kind of power?
So typically, we say we have about 80 megawatts or availability of 80 to generate that. At the peak need, we usually use about 50 megawatts or less. Typically 46, say, or 48. Depends on what's going on. As of today, I have enough to generate that much megawatts, that many megawatts. So if I need to run all the pumps, I have about 46 megawatts available to me today.
Without any backup redundancy, which is very important.
And one other thing about this explosion, that's part of the investigation, right? To figure out how this thing exploded.
Mhm.
But again, when we talk about these turbines, a lot of power, the turbine 5 is a gas-powered turbine?
Yes, it
that
is.
correct?
Yes.
So what kind of, we can say it was really big, but can you give us any more details about what kind of,
I think he's gonna give you what he's already given you. I don't
Yeah,
know
I'd
anything.
be
There's no
speculating.
more to give.
okay.
I would be speculating at
Yeah.
this point, really. Yeah.
We will,
Gas-powered.
yes, but
Yeah.
we will make sure that we bring forth information as we've learned more as soon as possible relative to this. And we do understand the impact as it relates to not only our employees that were impacted, minor, which was a good thing, but also people in the community and business owners who have responded as well. So we don't take it lightly at all, but it's very serious. So we appreciate you again for being here and for covering these very important issues on behalf of the city of New Orleans. Thank you again.
Thank you all.